Hello, I'm Deborah Sword.
Hi, and I'm Tyson Banker. All right, so I've been reading a lot of work from Brené Brown, and I really can appreciate some of the work that she's done in this space around trust, belonging, connection, and vulnerability. And I thought about how oftentimes when I'm in conflict with folks, that it does take me to be vulnerable. And it made me think about the quote, the birthplace of many of the fulfilling experiences we long for, love, belonging, joy, creativity, and trust. Vulnerability is having the courage to show up and be seen when we have no control over the outcome. Vulnerability is not weakness, it is our greatest measure of courage. And I'm wondering, Deborah, for you, how does vulnerability or the value of vulnerability help us in us being more confident being more confident, competent?
Yeah. As I became more conflict competent, I must admit my sense of vulnerability diminished. And I never had a high level of uh, feeling at risk.
Mm,
My life, uh, I never physically felt threatened. And there's a difference, I think, between emotional and physical vulnerability. So
mm,
I think we're talking about emotional vulnerability.
mhm.
Physically, if you're vulnerable, if you wind up in a threatening situation, it isn't your fault. Do what you need to do to be safe.
Right.
With emotional vulnerability, sometimes that feeling I need to be safe can put up barriers to belonging if you don't take a risk. So there's an element of risk taking. I don't know if you've ever gone to a party where everybody knows each other or seems to know each other, and they're in little groups and you're standing there and you don't know anybody. And if you take the risk to walk up to a group, you just feel so awkward, or at least I do. And sometimes they move over and include you, and other times you just put your head down, feel shame, and walk away. With conflict, it's doubly hard because you've got that emotional vulnerability. And then there's the topic of the conflict, where you might feel that it goes to your identity
Mm,
or to your sense of safety or your need to uh, defend a position. So it seems like there's a range of emotional vulnerability that covers a lot of territory. So some people are so tender on the inside that they cry easily. They feel pain when someone else is hurt or have a hard time standing up for themselves or self-advocating. And at the other extreme are people who have become hardened with their feelings. So it seems to me that vulnerability and how willing you are to expose your vulnerable, tender self can actually influence how you conduct your conflict. So if you
mm.
don't want someone to see your tenderness, you might choose to avoid, or you might choose to go for the win using hard tactics so they don't see how soft you really are. Or you might just give in so that you don't have to say to the person, this is really affecting me
Mm.
and my heart is breaking.
Yeah, I think all of those emotions that come up is can really be uncomfortable. And sometimes in that place of discomfort is where we most likely it's something that is a truth that has to be addressed. And I think about the quote by Amelia Mann, who talks about discomfort. And they say discomfort is a part of slowing down and becoming more present. If we acknowledge and pay attention to it, it means that we're allowing energy to do what it does naturally, which is conflict. And I think that tension, no matter where you are on that scale that you appropriately, shared with us about someone who's maybe really tender, someone who's a little bit more bitter, there's a discomfort having to that is coming internally that we need to address, whether it's internal conflict or external conflicts.
Mhm. Good point. And the takeaway for the conflict competence is this is a decision that you can make. You can say, I choose this because here's the outcome I would prefer in the conflict. This is the way I would like to show up for this person I'm in conflict with. And I can only do that if I'm vulnerable in the following ways. Or one, not the only way, but one of the ways that I can show up and be in this conflict to get a reasonable resolution is to share my vulnerability and then decide how to do that.
Mm. Yeah, the last quote I'll share about this and that invitation that I think you're offering for folks is by Robin Diangelo, which is the key to moving forward is what we do with our discomfort. We can use it as a door out, blame the messenger, and disregard the message, or we can use it as a door in by asking, why does this unsettle me? What would it mean for me if this were true? And I think so much of um, the truth about being vulnerable in conflict or in any type of way allows for us to, um, you know, is a door in, right? Is an invitation. And I think our vulnerability really helps us access that when we are willing to be more open.
That's beautiful. And the corollary to that is as you've invited that into yourself, you can invite the person you're in conflict with to come into that space with you and have that difficult conversation that is causing your discomfort. Thank you, Tyson. Thank you, everyone, for listening. We hope you'll subscribe, share, like, leave a comment, suggest topics, ask a question.
Thank you, everyone, and we will see you next week.